Hey guys, this is Kotpeepers here coming to you with a couple of Necro builds. The main one that we're going to go over is my favorite one, and that's the Aria build, so the bone armor build. We will start with the equipment on here, and so of course you can see you run the 6 pieces of Anarius. So you run the gloves with int, crit damage, crit chance, and area damage. Shoulders with int, vite, all res, and area damage. The helm with int, vite, crit chance, and a socket. The chest with int, vite, armor, and 3 sockets. The pants with int, vite, armor, and 2 sockets. And on the shoulders, just a note here. Instead of all res, you'd really want to roll armor, as you can see on the other pieces, because you're an int based character anyway, so you're going to get a bunch of all res, so it makes more sense to get the armor. And then the boots, which will run int, vite, armor, and movement speed. And here's been a big discussion with my buddy over 9,000 and myself. Do you wear it on the movement speed on your boots, on your gear, to get more Paragon Points? Do you run it in your Paragon Points to get more, another stat on your boots? In that case, it would be all res, which, by the way, you can only get 130 of. So you roll it, you can get 130%, or 130 all res. Now here's the trick, and the reason that I told him that I run it in Paragon Points. Aside from being an int-based character and having my all-res and not needing it on there, you actually get more all-res running it this way with your Paragon Points and everything. So you get more all-res running it this way. Here's how it works. You'd have to put 24 additional points into here to get your maximum 25% movement speed that you can get between gear and your Paragon Points. You take 24 points that you can put back into int instead at 5 points or at 5 intelligence per point, right? So that'd be 170 additional int that you would have. Now it also is going to give you 170 additional additional all res, right? Let's see if it says it here. Here we go. Increase all res by 13. So it's basically 10%. So you get another 10. My bad. You get another 10 all res. Yep. Well, 13. But nevertheless, you get more. You get the additional int, right? And you're not going to be able to get additional int on or roll it on there anyway, except for by an augment. But that's basically one of the reasons why I run it on my boots. I suppose you could definitely run it with your, in your Paragon Points, and you'd be fine. Let's see. So the other pieces that we have are the Trangol's Corroded Fang. So the Corroded Fang is going to be your weapon that you wear. It's going to give you additional damage because of your Cursed Scythe that you're going to run, and because you run your Decrepify. Your left ring is going to be... Oh, and on here you want to make sure you get it just like this. Int damage percent and attack speed. Or int damage percent and cooldown reduction or fight. Either one of those would be good too, but the attack speed is really nice. The ring you wear on the left is the Crispin ring, and that's going to be int, crit damage, crit chance, and this one rolled 99%, so I mean it's going to be really hard to beat even with an ancient, but it is possible. And in there you're going to run the Marinade Teardrop of the Star Weaver, and we'll go over the legendary gems here at the end. But essentially, that's going to be what gives you the majority of your damage, is going to be that teardrop. The belt is going to be the Dante's Binding. On here, you'll see you want to roll int, vite, all res, armor, and because it rolled so well with 48%, I augmented it. I did that, and it's an ancient, so still pretty good. The right ring will be the Volcathos Wedding Ring with int, crit damage, crit chance, and a socket. That's what you want. From what I understand, this procs the Marinade as well. So I ended up running it, and it also helps with, you know, gaining your life back, continuously having life. You know, it's always a good thing. Always a good thing. So the amulet is going to be the Wisdom of Kalan, and it's going to give you your additional 5 stacks of bone armor, so that you can, of course, you know, get your additional damage reduction, get your additional damage. I run Nem Bracers because why not? I can. And they make the rifts go a lot faster, So we run Nem Bracers. In the cube, I'm actually running the Shadow Hook, the Aquila Cuirass. So the Shadow Hook's going to give me the additional damage that I want from having more essence or additional essence. The Aquila's is going to keep us alive in that armor slot by giving us that 90%, or sorry, 50% damage reduction. So you'll want that. The ring slot or your jewelry slot is going to be the Brig's Wrath. Not very many people actually use this, but it's helped tremendously with this build. It sucks everything in, gets it exactly where you want it to be if it's not cursed. Now the other cool thing about it is when you're using it and you attack with your Scythe, because you're running the cursed Scythe, when they become cursed with that Scythe, it also pulls them in. So any enemy, any curse, sucks them in. So that's pretty much it for the equipment. Let's go over the gems. So the Marinade Teardrop of the Starweaver is your primary gem. It's going to be doing your additional, or the majority of your damage. The Bane of the Trapped, so that you can of course get additional damage with that. And you know, it does proc the Crispin Ring, or help proc the Crispin Ring as well. The Pain Enhancer, so you can increase your attack speed, and of course help proc the Marinade Teardrop of the Starweaver a little bit more. On our skills, I'm running Grim Scythe with Curse Scythe, so that it applies the curses to enemies and pulls them in with the Brig's Wrath. Additionally, the Scythe is going to be the best for keeping the Aquila Cuirass up, because you'll notice we won't have very many skills, you know, that'll have essence. So that will stay up continuously. You'll want to run Corpse Lance, because 1, it doesn't use any essence, and 2, it's going to be you want to run a corpse skill. You want to run a corpse skill because you at least want to use those up somehow, some way. It's great damage, great for taking out elites. I mean, there's just multiple reasons to use it. Land of the Dead, Frozen Land. Oh, I guess on here we're running Brittle Touch for the additional chance to be crit. And actually, I want to run Visceral Impact. Visceral Impact. That's what we should be running. 1750. Yeah. That's what we should be running. And you run it because of the additional stun, so it can proc the Crispin Ring. The Land of the Dead is going to be Frozen Land, so that you can actually freeze not only elites and other mobs, it actually freezes goblins, and it's one of the few things on there that will freeze the Rift Guardians. So it's essential that you use the Land of the Dead with the Frozen Lands rune. The Blood Rush with the Potency, so you can get additional armor in case if you trip up, you know, teleport in the wrong spot, whatever. This will kind of catch you a little bit. And you're also going to use it to increase the run times of your speed, well, decrease the run times of your speeds of your greater rifts, so that you can get them done quicker. The Bone Armor is going to be your main skill. You're running the Aria set, so that's what this set does, is it does damage, a lot of damage, 2750 actually, 2750% when bone armor is active, and bone armor is constantly active. Now, as you can see on there, it also gives you damage reduction by 3% per enemy hit up to a maximum of 10 enemies. So you can get additionally 30% damage reduction with this set. Next is going to be Decrepify with the Dizzying Curse. So that way, not only does it have the slowing effect, it also stuns them, which will proc the Crispin Ring and will allow you to do more damage. Overwhelming Essence is what you run for one of your passives. Increase your maximum essence by 40%. So with the Shadow Hook in the cube, you get an additional 40% essence at 0.5% increased damage, which is a total of what? 20%. That's right. So we get basically half a point of a percent of damage per essence we have for a maximum. The next one is going to be Spreading Malediction, receiving 1% increased damage bonus for each enemy affected by one of your curses. Again, while you run the Cursed Scythe and while you run the Decrepify. Now, the Decrepify, of course, also is for the belt, and it sounds like in the next patch they're going to make it so that Dante's Binding is or will be used or affected by every curse. So that way you can run like Frailty, you can run whatever the other one is. I mean, nobody really Leech. There we go. No, the problem is nobody really runs the other ones right now. So actually, some people run Frailty, but majority of people run Decrepify. Standalone, because you're not running any pets with this build, so you can increase your armor by 100%. So you get an additional, damage reduction, additional toughness, so that you can live through these rifts. Swift Harvesting, so you can increase the attack speed of your Grim Scythe, so you can proc your Marinade more and more often. That's pretty much it for the skills. Let's go over the Paragon Points. The way I would do it is crit damage or crit chance first, depending upon which one you need. And what I mean by that is you kind of want to keep them within a 10% range. So 10% of each other is usually a good rule of thumb. I mean, excuse me, you don't have to abide by it. It's not like a hard line, but I would definitely recommend going that route. Then I would probably do attack speed and then cooldown reduction last. You can do it the opposite way, but the attack speed is going to help you to proc the Marinade more, the Teardrop Marinade, Marinade Teardrop of the Starweaver, so that you can, of course, deal additional damage. In defense, I usually do either life or armor first, whichever one you think you need more of. If you're sitting pretty good on life, dump it into armor, and then I would do all res and then life regen. For the utility slot, I do area damage, life per hit, resource cost reduction, and then gold find. And finally, for core, we put just enough to get 13% in our movement speed, so we can get the 25% total between Paragon Points and equipment. I put 30 points into maximum essence to give me additional damage. So every point of essence you put in there, right, is going to give you 0.5% of a damage increase. Not much, but over time, I mean, it adds up. You figure that is 15% right there for a damage increase. Gives me additional essence, just, to have it. We don't really use essence in this build, so it's just there to give us additional damage. And then I would probably get yourself up to around 800k for life on this build. If you can, if you hit that million mark, great. If not, no big deal. You should be able to live still. And then the rest you can put into intelligence. About 118 I have in there right now. I'm what, Paragon 834. So, alright, and then on our Enchantress, because I decided to use an Enchantress. Normally, I would use a Templar. I would also normally run a Witch Doctor, but we're going to run the Necromancer, because of course it just came out. So a two-handed weapon, usually the Sultan of the Blinding Sand is a good one to go with, just because it gets that chance to blind on hit, and it really helps out a lot. It really helps you a bunch. Any kind of ring, whatever, with crit chance on it, damage is great for them. And then of course the socket, you need that socket. They get, and I'll show you, they get 2.5 for your intelligence item bonus. So they get multiplicable bonuses for the main stat. An Oculus ring, of course, so that when they kill stuff, they're putting the circle on the ground for you, and of course you're doing 81% more damage when you're standing in it. Pretty big. But roll it with crit chance and attack speed if you can. Necklace, attack speed, crit chance, because they max out at 150 for crit damage, and yeah, and I forget what they, 50% I think for crit chance. You're gonna get, yeah, 100% right there for crit damage from the follower token. And then for the skills, I usually run Charm, Power to Armor, Disorient. You know, the flashlight causing enemies to be disoriented for 2 seconds, so a good stun. And then of course Mass Control. Hex them, turn them into a chicken. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Inarius build. I'll actually be back on probably here in a little bit to do some runs with this build, and I'll be streaming, so make sure to catch that stream. If you have any questions or anything, just go ahead and ask them, put them in the comments, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. So alright guys, you have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed the build. Yeah, we'll see it run later.